am I?
In the village.
What do you want?
Information.
Whose side are you on?
That would be telling. We want information.
You won't get it.
By hook or by crook, we will.
Who are you?
Number 2.
Who is number 1?
You are the number you have been given.
I am not a number. I am a free man.
Welcome, numbers. You shall be assisting me in collecting information on the players. Today we are going to do a quiz. We shall have 3 participants, and you, the chat, will assist number 2, myself, on tripping him up. In the description of this video, there is a number of phrases, words that they are not allowed to say, and we have to get them. So join us and trip them up. So here we go. Hello, numbers.
Hello, number 2.
Is there a flight out of here? Or was there a bus service?
You're going to be bussed. No problem. So we are short one, Jim the Viking. I wonder what he's doing. Any ideas, boys and girls?
He's probably being tortured.
But by who?
Good question.
Jim the Merciless. So, numbers. Shall we start?
Of course.
And I'll pass it to number 180 to chair, and I'll sit in the background.
Welcome, everyone. Tonight we are going to talk about all different kinds of things except keywords. But the thing is, I'm not really in charge, as number 2 is the one who is going to be interrogating us.
And yes, although they call me number 2, I think they think I'm a big white balloon.
And look who we have in chat.
It's Jim the Merciless.
Oh, so number 2, how would you like to interrogate us?
Let us start with a basic discussion on the show.
Okay.
So, when did you first see it?
Oh, I watched it on ITV years and years ago when I first came across it. It was on one of the extra ITV channels, and after that I just had to get hooked, and because it was like every week, would he make it out of there? Would he get one over him? But at the end of each episode, the prison bars always come across.
Yes, they build up hope very well, only to have it pulled away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. My first time I ever even heard of this show was back in the mid-90s. A girl I was dating was absolutely in love with this one. And she introduced me to the story, and it was kind of hard to find a copy of it because this was before the internet and everything like that. So we eventually found one on PBS running, and we watched some of the episodes together, and it's the craziest combination of Mission Impossible and 1960s almost, I don't know, psychedelic punk, I guess you could call it.
Yes, it's a product of its time, but yes, it is very out there.
Mm-hmm.
Because how many actual programs can you see a big white balloon as the bad guy?
Absolutely fantastic.
Well, after a bottle of bourbon.
Well, that's true.
How many times did he try to escape the island and didn't think about using the pin?
Well, you get the impression that this thing cannot be popped.
Homer Simpson did it.
No, I was going to say Homer Simpson did.
Yeah, well,
but it's been a while since I actually rewatched this. I've got it on my list, unfortunately, for the new year. Typical. But when I first saw it, I really thought, what is happening here? Do you know what I mean? It's not like I was always a big fan of sci-fi, fantasy. Obviously, big fan of Doctor Who, Star Trek, just things like that. Oh, I better bounce myself.
What? And just like that, number 2 was gone.
nice.
Oh, yes.
So I first saw the show probably back in the mid 80s. And like Stephen, I think I found it on PBS. And I didn't see it often. I saw a couple of episodes. And I really hadn't thought about it for a very long time until they did the remake in the early 2000s. I don't know if you saw
2009.
that.
2009.
With, it had Jim Casa something. The guy who played Jesus, that's not on the list, and Gandalf, Ian McKellen.
Gandalf, what was that?
You know, you can throw all the naked women and lobster tails at me you want. I'm not going to talk. No, really, start throwing naked women and lobster tails at me. I'm waiting. Come on.
You're just actually wanting to hope. Just something you basically that just reminds me of the Little Shop of Horrors, the dentist, Steve Martin. Oh, I want that one out. No anesthetic, please, please.
That was a classic Bill Murray.
Did you see the remake?
No, I saw a couple of clips
I think
of
I saw
it,
like
and
one or two. My hand keeps disappearing. It's a funny thing here in the village. The laws of physics are not the same as they are other places.
yeah. I keep on noticing it actually because of the shadow. It makes it look as if you're doing a Londo Malari.
Hang on. I can almost make my entire head disappear. And Mrs. number 13 would be happy if that happened.
Well, my wife keeps on saying it disappear somewhere. It should disappear somewhere. But you know what would have made this program a hell of a lot better?
I do.
Yeah.
And I wish he was here.
Yes, I know. Absolutely terrible. What am I like?
Well played.
Just too subtle. As subtle as a brick.
Well, it's not. It's you know, quite frankly, he should be in every show because there is not a show that he would not improve, including that show with a female character exposed to gamma radiation who has both growth and pigment problems.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, it's very true.
Yes, that's true. Black Widow.
Yeah. And speaking of pigment problems, Roman, didn't you just recently go to the doctor?
I did. I'm looking at the list of things. There's nothing on here. So
I just went a couple of days ago. When did you go and see the doctor? Friday the what?
No, I was there today for my annual Everything Still Hurts exam. And as soon as the doc walks into the office, oh, I know, except for the phasing in and out of my hands and head, Miranda.
If you're in California, that could actually just be the.
No one knows where the village is, but wherever it is, your coffee cup can disappear and reappear.
That's right.
So
no
the
coffee
doctor walks it. The doctor, not that doctor, walks into the room, and the first thing he says is "Roman of the Empire," and I'm like, "Hi, doc."
Now that's good. That's good that you've been spotted. Got you.
And then he went on to talk about a show that Matt Smith is on with an elderly king whose parts fall off.
Yeah. Well, there's dragons in that show, isn't there?
Ah, bit of the outside.
Yes and no.
This is going to be one of those ones.
This is very hard. This is very hard.
Yeah. But as you've noticed, boys and girls, room's been done. Well, when I say done, it's about as done as this part. There's no, so there's still stuff lying all over the floor. So there is. Still got to finish restocking this cabinet, and I've got a cabinet on the other side as well, full of stuff, shall we say. It's easiest to say stuff than actually what's actually in them. But as you can see, all my figures are taken out the boxes. The only things I haven't is the Funkos, only for the simple fact is they're easier to pile up. But they might come out the box because with all the boxes emptied, I've got a lot of space in my shelves. So I'm getting there.
It's looking great. It's looking really, really great. And you're going to have to tinker with that camera angle to get it so that you're not driving yourself crazy with that angle there.
Yes, and that's why I've brought in the other camera angle.
Nice. Oh my gosh, you have two? You're all fancy now.
Yes, so
I'm like a fucking troglodyte over here.
Yes, so this one here was the one that I was going to set it up further so you get a bigger, but the problem is if I set it any further, it goes higher, which means you only see me from there up, and it looks like I'm actually Peter Dunkley. Hello. So I decided nope. So that's as high as it's going up. I've got a monitor above it that was going to sit in the monitor above it, but it would literally it would get the glare off the top of my head. So I decided no. So yeah, so and this one's easier just for my gorgeous face.
It is lovely. It is.
Yes. Oh, did you want to hear a request I got at the weekend? My grandson keeps going like that, and he goes. So everybody else holds him, and he likes to look around. So they hold him, and he just smiles and looks around. If I hold him, he goes, and just stares up at me because of this. So he does. And my daughter says, "Why don't you shave it?" I said, "Nope." She says, "Why not?" I says, "Because if I shave that and he still does that, then it's me. If I don't shave it, then it's the beard's fault." So I ain't shaving it. I ain't falling into that trap. You need to bite me in the neck and actually hypnotize me.
What would Jay's come out with?
And yes, I wanted to say hello to the chat since we're not allowed to interact with you guys directly.
Breaking rules. I'm already breaking rules. I didn't
really.
Well, just saying hello is one thing, but I think we're not allowed to discuss topics in the chat or cue the chat in any sort of way.
I have to say hi.
Yes, we can say hello. And yes, Zax, that is me. I am here. That is I.
Who is that man in the corner?
I am not a number. I am a live streamer.
I have a question about the show because I've only seen. I know Zax. I know.
It's basically just trying to turn into Londo Malari. That's what it is. Nothing else.
Is there a different number 2 each episode?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, number 2
Okay.
is I suppose it's like whoever does the job is number
Yeah.
2 at the point.
Yeah, it's
So,
a designation.
yes. So I am not a number really does work because everybody's not a number because they're their job and the job is their number. So yes, I'm a big job number 2.
In the classic sense of interrogation rooms. When one fails, another rises to the occasion and takes over.
Who does number 2 work for?
Number 1.
Yes.
Where's
and
number
one's
one?
And number 1 is sitting next door. Tell me to shut down. Shut up. Yes.
So
21's
And
on.
we have got a new number.
Nice. Very cool. Hello, number 21. Yep, he'll be joining us shortly as soon as the mic gets working out.
Yeah.
Probably
Do you know-
hiding
do you
in
know-
this
do you
room.
know what's going on?
Evening.
Aha.
I have no clue what I'm doing, but I'm
That's
still
okay.
here for you.
So basically, this is Let's Talk Geeky, and so number 21. How's your week been?
Yes.
Nice.
So basically, to make sure he doesn't see anything on the list, he's just replying to yes and no answers. So it doesn't matter what question you ask him. Yes.
it's gonna be a
Yes.
long couple hours. Although I found the less that Jim says, the more productive the rest of us are.
Oh, I pity you. But
What? Nothing 21? Nothing?
Just to not break any rules, I literally crashed through the front door, jumped on the computer to join the stream. So apologies if I'm a couple of seconds behind. So give me a
Yeah.
couple of minutes to catch up because I still need to get my dinner.
Gotcha.
Good.
Is he also getting naked women and lobsters? Or is that just something you've been throwing?
Well,
in?
I heard that was the recommendation.
It is.
so
it is. It's a
I'm
new
definitely
interrogation
getting that.
technique.
I'll
Here on the-
stick to
here- here in the
I'll
village.
stick to lobsters. I'm too old. I can't remember what to do with the other one. I can't remember.
Actually,
what to do with the other
Mrs.
one.
Number 13 wouldn't approve of the first either, but
No,
know-
it's not to do with that. It's just I can't remember what to do with them. So I know how to eat a lobster. The rest of it is just
that got so weird so fast. Number 2.
yes. I must have been on something. It's the books I've been reading. What can I say?
What are you reading?
Me, I'm reading I just finished Morningwood, Everybody Loves Large Chests, and I'm now on to Villain's Rule, which is a super villain one. It's
Oh,
the
nice.
Shadow Master. The Shadow Master. There's 4 books. It's just I'm going through my books again because I'm still waiting for the Belgarian to finish down. Each month I get another book. I've got 3 so far, so I'm waiting for 2 more before I start them because I fly through them quickly because I'm driving all the time. I
Oh,
decided
you're doing audio.
to wait.
Okay, got it.
So-
Is there a series of books related to this series? I would assume that there are.
Oh, there will be.
Or are there not?
I'm sure there would be, and I'm sure Colin would have been able to tell us exactly how many because I'm sure he's downloaded them because anytime something's mentioned, he goes down that rabbit hole once the books are mentioned. So
Like I said, I need to watch the remake series of this again because I've seen a couple of episodes and I did enjoy them. But then, just like a lot of things here in the village, I got distracted and it just fell off the radar. I'm trying to escape. The big ball thing comes after me, and then I'm out for a couple days, and it just derails my entire program.
yeah. Well, the reason I didn't really watch the remake was
Too
when
dark.
I heard about it. Well, I just switched the light on, but when I heard about it was just about the same time as they did the remake of Tomorrow People. They did the pilot of Knight Rider, the remake, and I seen those and I went, I'm staying away from them. So that's when I started going, I ain't watching remakes. So that was like 2010 when I
It
started.
was a long time ago.
Yeah, so I just went, nope. I decided against it. So, and it's things like that that actually made me decide not to watch something. And hence the reason why I didn't watch the Too Dark, check the list, Battlestar Galactica, because I found that too dark. So it could be worse. It could at least some of my superhero stuff isn't too dark.
You mean, for instance, Wakanda Forever?
Yes, that was too dark. So it was. Because at Codlet was all shot at night. Because so people didn't see the whales and stuff.
I understood Namor, who could have been escaping from the village himself. Those night scenes were pretty rough. I was watching The Critical Drinker. Critical Drinker.
Yeah.
I think it was The Critical Drinker. I was critically drinking myself. That's not on this list, is it? And he was talking about how the Namor attack on the ship was his favorite part of the movie, where it was the only thing that was almost recognizable, but then as soon as he could actually see everything, it wasn't, because of the complete bastardization of the characters from our favorite mouse and comic company.
Yeah, well, considering the ones that I've heard, and they turn around and say he introduces himself, Kukulkan, and then he says, my enemy call me Namor, and then they start calling him Namor, and you're sitting there thinking, did I not just tell you my name? Why are you mispronouncing it? That's like me saying my name is PJ Maybe, and everybody's just calling me Peach. It's not the same name.
No.
No. Nor. I'm going to end up in the village. Nor does the character have the same history or look like the character.
Well, considering it's meant to be
I guess there were
Atlantis in
copyright
the end,
issues.
yeah. Considering Namor comes from an underwater city, what's that got to do with South America, the Aztec civilization, which was landlocked and mountains?
No, it was.
But then again, Wakanda Forever. I mean, Wakanda actually had a very large submarine for a landlocked.
That's peculiar, right? You don't expect that from a landlocked.
No, it must actually. They must be really deep. Those rivers, really deep. You know what I mean?
Oh.
And then obviously when they use it to go and actually kidnap someone. And I mean, but they've got jurisdiction across the planet. You're coming with us. I mean, that's basically RoboCop, dead or alive. You're coming with me. That was basically conscious or unconscious. You are
just
coming.
Dreadful. I don't expect I'm ever going to see it. Just for so many different reasons. On how many? I'm gonna ask questions about the show, because I understand it, and I understand every episode is. They're not the same, but they're similar. They have the similar premise through each episode.
What we talking about? We still talking about Wakanda?
No, we've moved back to.
We're talking about the show.
And
you just interrupted a time out there. You number 47.
Which for audience members, you're not allowed to say the word.
Yes, well, they actually deliberately filmed them in such a way that they could be.
You can watch them in any order.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, because the opening sequence of the show, I mean, that's a long opening sequence, but you get every bit of information you need to get from that opening sequence.
Yeah.
That's what is it? It's got to be like two minutes plus. It's a bit absurd. Now, how many seasons were there though?
Just one, from what I understand.
Yeah,
and
so just one off.
The initial, the first episode actually shows the moments leading up to his capture and planting on the island.
and I watched that episode. I really enjoyed it. Now that I realize there's only a season of it, I may try to find it and buy it. because you can watch it on the social broadcasting network that we like to do these broadcasts from.
Well played.
For free for some episodes, but not for all episodes. And if it's a one-off, I'd actually like to see the whole thing. Although he's never getting out of the village. No, all the naked women and free lobsters that he can get. Oh, okay. Thank you, Kelly Lynch. It's also on Tubi and Pluto. However, I don't know what those are. So we only get so much reception here in the village. It's not the best cable package.
Nope.
So it's a different number
I
two in every episode.
at a
go ahead, Jim.
disadvantage here since I have literally no clue what's going on, and I've had a lot of extra, shall we say, time stolen from me this week.
Gotcha. Well, if I could just go over the basics at number 21, we're all basically just doing a standard Let's Talk Geeky conversation, and we're given a list which is available in the description.
And you're not allowed to say anything on the list.
Do you have the list, Jim the Viking? Oh, number 21. I'm sorry. I don't know if I may have violated a rule there, but I don't think I did. Do you have your list?
The items on the list, and I'm trying to obviously, as I understand it, do not use these.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So that means number 21 that we cannot have an argument tonight about who's the best superhero.
Oh, I am disappointed.
Yeah, I know.
Wait, is that on
speaking
here?
of which, Thursday, Roman, you're doing a discussion on villains.
I
Yes,
am.
Jim, what is your favorite sci-fi supervillain?
Let me consult the list before I begin.
Just want to get you up to speed, Jim. This is the best way to do it. Trial by fire.
At least the good thing is you don't even need to go down comic books or anything like that. What you can do is just maybe go to...
I think I know what my best comic book villain is, even though I have very minimal insight into it. But I do like myself a little bit of Megapolis 1. And it would be...
I thought it was the Jolly Green Giant you were going to say there.
It would be a number 47 because I read the wiki page on it and it sounds like an amazing villain, although I have not read through and through on it.
So the good thing is books, I know. They beg your pardon. This chesty cough. I went up to the chemist and they basically says, what type of cough is it? I says, well, it's in my chest, it's tickling my throat, and then when I cough, it's very dry. So it's a chesty, tickly, dry cough. And they says, we've not got a thing for that, but you can have these three. This one's for a chesty cough, this one's for a tickly cough, and this one's for a dry cough. Just mix them. Away you go. So obviously I didn't really get anything at the chemist.
Did you grow a tail? Because you might have with that kind of mix. It turned you into a newt.
I grew a beard.
So interesting thing about the show that we are discussing. So I was on the phone with Pop of the Empire yesterday, and I was asking him about supervillains. And I said we were going to be talking about this show today. And I said the only thing wrong with the show, you change out the number 2. Which I knew for the episodes that I'd seen, but I didn't know if that was like a prevalent throughout the series. I said, but the main villain is the big puffy ball, and I'm like, that's a hard one to sell on a show about villains.
It's such an abstract thing too. It's almost astonishing that they were able to make that thing so threatening. As a matter of fact, just for the sake of fun, I'm going to bring up the concept of She-Hulk.
No! And that's what happens, boys and girls, when you violate the rules of the village.
Will that number ever return? Tune in next week.
Nobody knows. And sometimes they didn't. That was the thing. Sometimes they didn't come back. At least in the episodes I saw, there were a couple people who died.
Yes. And you think about it, of its time, how many programs like that where you would have guest stars coming in and something would happen, but very rarely you had one that you would expect to stay in and then suddenly gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there was some episodes where it wasn't actually in the village. So they played a great way of where he wasn't in the village mostly.
Is that the one where he escaped?
No. One was where he had to take on an appearance of another person.
Oh.
And the other one was he was telling a bedtime
story. All them.
Yeah, and the other one was he was telling a bedtime story to children, which I watched
children
earlier
there.
today.
Children.
That's the question. But the thing is, these were just children in their
sad, weird, sick place is this village?
It's the same place where that woman had her life-size dildo and when it broke and she imprisoned them all.
This got so weird so fast.
Yeah.
Yes.
I know.
I don't remember that.
That's how it is here in the village, folks. It gets weird quickly.
Yes.
It's not just big balls.
I think one of the strangest episodes was the cowboy one, where it plays out just like a cowboy show, and you're just like, wait, is this a set? What is going on here? It's so strange. But that is the show.
Walks in, hands over his sheriff badge, and then gets chased.
Yep.
Just very bizarre. And it was one of the characters I loved was the Admiral.
Yeah.
Who's just down on the boat, doing whatever the hell he's doing. I think he was playing chess as well.
Yeah,
chess
but
is a big part of the game, which I thought was
that wasn't a real boat.
No, it wasn't.
Stone.
But I don't know. I guess if you're there long enough,
yeah.
Sailors find a way.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Anyway, so Jim,
join the army, feel a man. Join the navy, feel two.
Whoa!
So 21, no camera tonight.
What?
No, he's.
Are things down?
No camera tonight, indeed.
Nope.
Yeah, and the good thing is we shouldn't have any of the chat being invaded because things can't get mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
So we shouldn't have any of those.
That's right. Yeah, we can't mention anything like.
I think they'll come.
But
no weird pun intended there. The unmentionable things.
Right, like the current elections.
Don't get me started.
Don't
get me started.
Oh, come on, Roman. You could certainly get into that whole process.
Here in California, we are still
you just had a lot of, shall we say, people putting paper pieces in boxes and whatnot.
They weren't votes, folks. They were ballots. Your name is not on a ballot. It's just a piece of paper with dots filled in. That's all it is. And you're in the right county, in the right state. Who knows how many there might be or how long it takes to count them. In Florida, for instance, a state that is one of our largest and has one of the largest populations, they're able to get it done in one day. Yet in smaller states, let's call it Arizona, they're still tabulating votes because in the 2 years since the last one, they weren't able to fix it because they don't want to. No one wants to.
No,
it's over. They're all coming to the village. It's over. Okay, sorry.
So what are we talking about? What are we talking about? It's a question.
But we're talking about this fantastic show by a Mr. Patrick McGowan that is almost an indirect but sort of direct sequel about his production history, arguments, and disenchantment with the spy genre of his show, Danger Man.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And another
That's-
thing is one episode he wasn't in. He was off filming Ice Station Zebra
Oh, that is such a great film.
at the same time.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love that one. It's a bit long. It's a bit
Yeah.
long, but it's still a great movie. And Patrick McGowan is. I didn't. We talked about this I think before I came here to the village. The longevity of his career. Again, I didn't realize until much later on that he was Edward Longshanks in Braveheart.
Lucky Colin's not here, otherwise you would have got him started.
Look, Colin's fucking 1522. That's what happens when you eat food from 1522. Bad things can happen.
So, no, does anybody want to read this one?
No.
Yes. Az and Robert Meyer Burnett have a brilliant episode-by-episode breakdown of the show in a playlist on RMB's channel.
That's
That's nice. I'm gonna have to check that out.
Yep. And now the chat's actually starting to get involved. They're
Yep,
going
that's
to
what we
start
need,
asking
Chad.
questions.
Oh,
Well,
let's see.
mostly get involved.
Oh, I'm not allowed to say either term. That's not fair. That's not fair. Tom!
What was that you just shouted?
Is he on there? I don't think he is.
There you
Dr.
go. There's
Karen?
a question. There's a question that can go down the panel. Who's your least favourite Doctor Who?
Sasha Dewari.
I can easily answer that one since it's no one, as I have struggled to get into Doctor Who.
Right, so that's so far we've had two answers. My least favourite is Paul McGann. Remember,
Paul.
of the classic.
Really? No, you're
Of the
making that up.
classic. Of the classics.
classic era.
That's the only ones I watch.
I didn't like Colin Baker.
Colin
there was
was,
just
yeah. Colin was
something
one of
about-
these ones it sort of dragged you in. Initially, it was a thing, but it took the time for it.
and
I can understand where it was coming from with the
Yeah.
Colin one.
and I'm not as well versed in the classics as a lot of people are. I've seen a lot of
Tom.
help me, William the first Doctor, William
Hartnell, yeah.
Hartnell. Sorry, I've seen a lot of his, and the second fellow with the bad haircut and the flute. I hated that flute. I hated it.
Patrick Troughton.
Where's
I
Patrick
hated that
done?
flute. He played a flute. And then the third, I saw a fair amount as well. And then the fourth, Tom Baker, I'd seen many. And then after that, it really was kind of a hit and miss with Peter Davison. And then it was like non-existent after that. And every now and then I'd see something and be like, ooh, I don't know who that dude is or what he's wearing, but I don't like it. And it was his outfit was very off-putting.
Colin's outfit was an explosion in a paint factory. Yeah.
It was terrible.
It was not very good.
It would have fit right in
yes,
here in the
Kelly,
village.
I know a lot of people like Paul McGann, but I'm talking about from the movie. He might have done Big Finish and stuff like that, which improves it. But the movie, to me, the only reason I class the movie as part of the classics is because Sylvester McCoy was in it.
Right.
If he wasn't in it and it started like they did with Christopher Eccleston, I wouldn't have included that in it.
Mm-hmm. I also didn't like Eric Roberts as the Master.
Oh, he was absolutely dire. His sister should have actually just slapped him.
Well, he did try to dress for the occasion, didn't he? At the end.
No, he did. You can give him that. So I'm going to ask a question again. Back to the show here. What is that on here? It is on here. I'll be damned. Miranda has done her homework already, and I think she's actually better versed right now than Jim the Viking is. What? Oh, the one after Peter Collins. Jeez,
Yeah, good
I
one.
was like shocked for a second, Kelly, because I didn't read the one after. Yes, Miranda. Yes. You don't get kicked off. You guys can say anything you want.
In all fairness, the one with boobs, Joanna Lumley was a better one.
Yeah.
Who?
And
Joanna Lumley, she played over here. There's
Purdy in the Avengers, the
she played
TV
Purdy
show.
in Avengers.
Yeah.
She played in Absolutely Fabulous.
Patsy.
She's played in a load of stuff. To the Manor Born, she always played the highborn ladies and stuff like that. However, over here, every year they do a charity thing, and they did a crossover between a soap, which was EastEnders, and Doctor Who.
Oh,
And Richard D. Grant played the Master, who kept getting merged with a Dalek, so he ended up having boobs as well.
No, that
That-
wasn't.
that-
That wasn't Richard E. Grant. That was
Who was
I
it?
forgot his name.
I can't
I
remember.
got
off the top.
nothing.
He was the bad guy in Tomorrow Never Dies.
Oh, that's one of the modern Bond films. I
Yeah.
didn't watch any of
It was also
what's his fellows.
He was in
Pirates of the Caribbean.
Was he not actually in that love story one?
What, Love Actually?
Can't remember.
This
off
is
the top.
actually torture, in case anyone
It
is
is.
curious. This is what they do for torture.
But do you know
here.
what it would make it better?
well,
do.
it is an
I do.
interrogation. So, and I wanted to
can't get him. He's
comment
up too high
on.
right now. Actually, you
I want
can't
to
even see
comment
them. They're
on
not here.
Grand Muff's comment there. Peter's black costume was not
Yes.
initially called what you're trying to ask us about. It was
What was it
originally
called?
in the original Secret Wars book. The comic, it was the origin of the unstable molecular costume. That's where all of the Fantastic Four adopted the unstable molecule and made it into costumes that could exist in any power set. It was something that Reed Richards really latched onto later on, and John Byrne really made it something. It was only later on that it
Was it
became.
not the unstable molecule?
Since it's not on the list, are we talking about the symbiote combination to this suit?
Yes,
Or-
exactly. That wasn't the original thing. It became that later on somehow.
Yeah, but was it not the unstable molecule that they were wearing as part of their suit when they went through the radiation, the Fantastic Four? Hence the reason why each of them got a different power. Was
I'm
that
trying
not the original?
I don't.
But I remember in the Secret Wars that it did not start off. Peter's black suit did not start off as the villain that we came to know later on as the symbiote. That was something that evolved.
that evolved across. If I recall it, he was like a good 10 to 15 comic books.
Yeah, later on down the road, they got clever with it.
When Carnage showed up, which is a similar related life form.
Yeah, it's basically the son of, in effect, because it reproduced.
Right. Yeah,
So
quite literally
Oh, my.
an incarnation of the spin-off.
Yeah.
Now, what do we ever find out what the big, aside from being able to capture people, the big balls are that absorb the people? I mean, we know what they do. Do we ever know what they are? Do they ever get number 2?
No, number 2 was Incontrollable.
No.
Well, sometimes it seemed like number 2 wasn't in control of very much.
No, because they kept changing.
He
every way.
was just a gatherer, so he was.
Yeah, but the thing
Yes.
is about number 2, he wasn't just a he.
He was a she, yeah.
Right.
that's
Yeah.
true.
There were
They
several
changed-
female
they-
number 2s
Yeah.
as well. Yeah. Each
they
one
were
of them with a
lost.
clever idea to try and get into his head.
I know.
But
Peter.
there's actually some history that to the concept of a village for spy organizations.
Mhm.
It's part of the lore of spy novels in the first place,
Yeah.
including a particular author that I'm not allowed to mention that
Ah,
brings
one?
up an island where recovering agents go to rehabilitate themselves back up to fighting training.
Yeah.
Or
That's
fi-
interesting.
See, that trope's been used. Even I remember there was a couple of Commando comic ones, and it was about 2 RAF pilots had to bail out over Germany, and they land in an English village. And then suddenly, over the loudspeaker, German gets spoken, and everybody dies for cover except the 2 of them. But they didn't get captured. They basically got congratulated because it was a training facility for spies. And the fact that they didn't react to
wow.
German, they didn't react to German because they didn't understand what it was asking,
Right.
and everybody else did. They got promoted to British RAF.
Good grief.
So even
That's funny.
that type of trope was in Commando comics all those years ago.
That's interesting.
It's interesting. Jay has a good question out here talking about British comics. What's the panel's favorite British comics and comic book characters? I don't know British comics from Adam.
Yes, you do.
I do.
Yes, you do.
Yeah. There's a helmet in the background right there.
Oh, that's British. I always thought it was just straight up Dark Horse. Did Dark Horse publish it over here? I thought they did. Am I wrong?
They might have published over there, but it actually started in here.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
So it did. So
I
so
am
that's the
mistaken. I am
Is that what
mistaken.
you're saying? Is that's your favorite?
Yeah, the
And
title
because I am
is
mistaken,
it's
I should
it's,
be taken prisoner.
it's
Yeah,
relative to the last millennium.
Yeah, it basically we've already passed it. Just should be here. Nearly get.
Yeah, we wish.
Ooh,
talking
that,
about
that,
number
that
two,
was
that-
close one. That was a
we
close
talking about
one.
number 2 doesn't get kicked.
Oh well,
That's
that's
right.
okay because I've already been kicked once.
Oh.
Number 2 doesn't get kicked. That's even better then. So let's talk about.
Wait a minute. That's,
No, number
There
2
has to
doesn't
be-
get kicked.
That's
there
I
has
know
to
right.
be
who's in
universal
charge.
rules
Number 2's in
on the
charge.
island.
Yeah.
Who is arguing with number 2's decision?
Not high.
Just in case.
Number 2, you got to press the video clip before you.
I know, but I just kicked him just to bring him back in again. So I wasn't actually kicking him. But the good thing is, I'm here. I'm the one that's gathering all the knowledge. So when I ask a question,
It's going to be
you
a
have
very
to
empty
tell me.
vessel at the end of this.
Yes, yeah. I mean, basically, I'm actually already at the bottom of the bowl. Actually, trying to actually get the last of it out with a bit of bread. Yeah, I mean, if brains were chocolate, I wouldn't have enough to fill a Smartie.
Yeah.
Wow.
Or if brains were dynamite, I wouldn't have enough to blow my nose. Yes, I've heard them all. Mostly
Pretty
from
good,
my
pretty
father.
good.
Mostly from my father. But
Someone's clearly been practicing the dad jokes in anticipation of the newly arrived individual.
I've been doing them for years because I've got 3 daughters. So my daughters just go, now. Because when I tell, we were over and the wee man let one rip. So he did.
Mm-hmm.
My son-in-law says, "What's that? Oh no, he didn't. He basically riffed. And my son-in-law says, "What's that song you sing?" And my daughter was about to sing it, and I started singing it. And he goes, "No, that's where you get it." And it was basically, "Pardon me for being so rude. It came straight from the heart. Had it gone the other way, it would have been a fart." And the thing is, she obviously says that to her son, and it's because I used to say that
That's
to
where
my daughters.
yeah.
So she just learns all the dad jokes. So she basically says the same silly things because she grew up with it, and I grew up with it. I've got 3rd generation dad jokes. I've passed them on. Yeah. Right. So What was the other
you ever meet
question?
number
There's another
one?
one.
Or is that a spoiler? Oh, which part has the long?
Yes.
That links into that question.
Oh.
Yes. Jay, that would be, and Grand Muff, that would be number 7, of course.
Yes. Yes. So,
Yes.
do you ever see number one on the show?
No.
No.
Until the end.
It's just, or there may not even be a number one for all.
Well,
we know.
spoiler alert, last episode.
Yeah.
See, the question is...
There is a last episode. They actually did
Yeah.
end it.
They did a last episode. It's a hell of a last episode, I'll tell you that. Good
all right,
grief.
now see, I gotta watch it.
Did you know I actually got... somebody had suggested that they already told you who number 1 was at the beginning,
Oh my.
because it's actually how you listen to the questions and answers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Who is number 1? You are the number you were given.
Right. Right. Exactly. Yeah.
So basically,
it's a very clever play on language. The whole series, if anybody aspires to be very clever about their way of answering and keeping their identity pure, this show is almost like an education in how to get that done. How to stay true to yourself, how to stay true to your mission. That's kind of like what this show is really all about.
I know.
And it's a mission that we all need to start really thinking about, because with current culture, we're being tested on a daily basis, trying
That's
to
no
keep
lie.
our identity straight.
Yeah.
And
Well, what you can say and what you can't say.
yes.
exactly.
Yeah, and even them constantly trying to change things.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, certain comic book characters, they try and change. Whereas one of my favourite comic book characters, they've got a Judge Anderson and a Judge Giant. Judge Giant dies a very, I wouldn't say a good death, but a very heroic death. So he does. Basically trying to stop an assassin who's trying to disrupt the city. And he is one of the few, he's one of the few judges that manages to catch up with him and dies fighting him, which delays him for Judge Dredd to get him. So, when they actually try and, you know, the next actor who's going to play the part is going to be changed, race changed, sex. They're going to have a female judge. Which
Are
is
they
going to be
doing
crazy.
another film?
No, but you know, fine well, occasionally, every so often they'll do something and they'll
Yeah.
change it. I'm waiting for it to happen in the comic. But they can't do it in the comic because in the comic, he ages. So the comic has been running for 40 years. And the character is 40 years older than he started.
Oh wow.
So
See,
basically,
that's a very rare thing where you have a linear
yep.
act, you know, because they don't do that in any of the other comic book houses.
Nope.
Characters are never age unless you get like a one-off, like Kingdom Come, for instance,
Right.
where all the superheroes were older because it was a future set story. But that was really, I mean, it was really interesting to see that.
Yeah, but what was that a Dark Horse or an indie cover?
No, oddly enough, it was neither of those. Detective Comics, I believe it is called.
It was what comics?
It doesn't say that on here, right? It doesn't say that on here, does it?
Uh,
It says the abbreviation. It says the abbreviation. I think I can get off on a technicality on this.
Nice.
Yeah. Give him that one.
Very technical.
What is District of Columbia, you mean?
That one.
It's not Washington.
Well, also, I think Isom from Eric July is supposed to be a linear comic.
Yeah,
I don't think he's planning on resetting timelines. At least that's what I understood when he was discussing the show.
So what?
There is, and it used to be called political correctness, which is not on the list.
Yes.
And it has now evolved into
It might not be political correctness, but politics is on the list.
Oh my goodness.
So I'm actually, because I don't get to play, if I don't get to play properly, I'm actually just bouncing. So, unfortunately,
Well, I got to the reply for Jay the Deep Minded, and yes, the recent activity is that it's just pants.
Wait, it's just pandas?
No, pants, not pandas.
And then there were two.
Unbelievable. See, it's funny how we can actually do this. I didn't think anybody was going to fail at this at all. This is a little more difficult than everybody thinks. Once the heat gets going,
No one's got me yet. That's the
and
What
some
we need to
rivalry.
what we need to do is actually just have the conversation going.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
we'll have to
Nice.
keep the conversation going a bit more fluid, and so people don't go, hold on a minute, let me read, then I can answer.
I clearly haven't kept up with the items.
Yes. So, Jim, I'm actually going to turn into PJ the Maybe the Magnificent. So none of that stuff. We're going to have nobody. There we are.
Are you telling me you're not wearing a red robe?
I am under my jumper. But it's getting a bit whiffy. There's a bit of a think.
Welcome, Edge of Time, and we welcome all from Anti-Derivative Jill. So welcome,
Yep.
Derivative Jill Raid.
So we're in the middle of a game to try to trip the panel up. But we need to trip them up more.
Mm-hmm.
more.
So, yes, more.
I dare you. I dare you, chat. Try and bring up some things, topics of discussion that may lead to things,
See, we can
That'll
even
trip
talk
us
about books. We can talk about authors. We can talk about TV programs. We can talk about comics. We can talk about sci-fi.
Mhm.
We can talk about superheroes. We can talk about
Yep, we could talk about science fiction shows that have marionettes in them.
yes,
Can't we, Alec?
They have those?
yes,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're making
Yeah,
things up.
sorry,
Who would
we
make
have
such a thing?
we have programs with marionettes. You have a president.
Yeah.
Who is a marionette?
Yes,
It's true. It's true.
I'm sorry, FBI. That was a joke. Please don't come to the house again.
Nice.
I don't want to end up in the village.
Marionettes.
Yeah, what-
I thought they were puppets, but never mind.
It's a puppet.
Well, yeah, marionettes are a puppet. We're talking about several different different.
Yes, because there's different
terms.
types of puppets. Because you can have one where you stick your hand up, but
Yeah.
that's not a puppet. That's a partner.
Right. Well, it's not like the days with City and Sweet, was it?
Yes.
Mhm.
They
Oh
wouldn't know
my.
what City and Sweet is.
Yep. Well, the
I-
most
making up
famous show with marionettes
With-
is created by the
with
same
the-
person who created Space 1999.
Yes, that's true.
Is that Gillian Anderson's father?
Yes, it
No.
is. They're both related.
No, I'm asking legitimately because right now she's taken on a faux British accent because I guess
She is British.
Gillian Anderson.
Yeah, she's British.
Yeah.
The fuck?
Yeah, she's British.
You're making that up?
No.
Really? I
As Sir Lawrence
I thought she was
Olivier,
bullshitting
Olivier
with that
once
accent.
said, "It's called acting."
Oh my god, I had no idea.
Yes.
I legitimately
Roman, are
didn't
you
know.
telling me this information you've never heard before?
No, I haven't. This is all new to me.
What's all new to you?
I'm a
Frankie.
moron. I am a moron. I thought Gillian Anderson was an American actress, and I thought that she
trust
was
me,
on the.
discovering being a moron is always
no.
news to everybody on the panel.
It is. It's surprising when you find out. No, I legitimately thought when she was doing, I think it was the show called The Killing, that she was putting on a British accent.
No.
But she's actually British?
Yes. Yeah, I think
Yep,
she's moved.
Chad, I need some help
exactly
with
the
this. I need
same
to-
as
I need to
Damian
verify this.
Lewis
I
in.
think they're just fucking with me on this.
No, that's like
Yeah,
you thinking
that's
actually Hugh Laurie
Lewis
is
in
actually
Random
American
Numbers,
because he
where
was
he
in
put
House.
on an American accent.
I'll be damned.
Yep.
So is she related to the Space 1999 guy?
No.
No.
She's not. I mean, who knows at this point? Who knows? I have no idea because it's we're in uncharted territory for me.
We are.
Even here in the
So,
village.
Are you trying to
you
tell
know.
us all this new knowledge you're getting? You didn't know.
I need a nap now.
Yeah. It's exhausting being educated, isn't it?
Yeah.
See the
It's been
good
like
thing is
30
that-
fucking years and I had no idea that she was British. Is a bit of a problem.
Check a Wikipedia or IMDb.
It'd be like if I found out if Mrs. Number 13 was Irish all these years and she was just faking it.
Nice. Putting on a. It's always hysterical to hear Peter Parker, Tom Holland, actually speak normally, and you're just like, wow, that's kind of trippy.
I know.
It's always surprising when the accent gets pulled away and you find out, they're not from America at all.
It's like the entire cast of The Walking Dead is either fucking Australian or British.
Well,
With like
the Grand Moff,
very
it
rare
says online she was born in Chicago.
See, she's an American.
Right, let's have a look. Let's have a.
She's
fire
a
up.
British American, but
Mhm.
she has to be fully British because she has received an OBE, Order of the British Empire.
Should it be maintained the way things go?
I don't know what that is, but I'll accept your explanation because I don't know what it is. Is that like a Medal of Freedom or
It's
is it a
Medal
title
of Honor in a way.
for a
Yeah,
civilian citizen? Okay.
Yeah, it's not like dames or sirs or lords or ladies like that. It's
It's
what
like an award of some kind.
yeah, but you never know. She might get a damehood in the future.
I didn't know she was British. I'm still just dumbfounded by this.
Yeah. That's great. That's just great.
It's
I'm trying to think of some other actors that are surprisingly British. I forget which ones now.
I just
But
find it.
I've
funny.
had a few just shock the hell out of me.
Yeah, I just find it.
Go ahead.
Oh.
Sorry.
I just find it funny is that the line taken from Robin Hood Men in Tights, where Kerry Lewis, who I always thought was American, but he was British, and he comes out with, "I'm the only Robin Hood who can speak with a British accent." So,
Making
No,
fun, of
no.
course, Kevin Costner, who could not.
yes, yeah,
That is such a bad movie.
I
That should
know.
actually be on here now that we're talking about it. I wish he'd been.
Looking up Miss Anderson.
Yeah, she was born
Um,
in Chicago, Illinois.
But,
Yeah,
well,
true,
what I
true.
found is quite rather interesting is her height. She's 5'2".
Yep.
She's
Nice.
1.6 meters tall. If she put on heel, she wouldn't even reach 5'5".
Yeah, she looks tall. Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, next
But
to
they
him.
always kept her on the same level as David Duchovny.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of that illusion. I think one of my favorite shots from Maverick is Tom facing off against Rooster, and you could totally see how short Tom is. It's insane. He
Yes.
looks like he's almost a foot shorter than him in some of those, because they're standing a good distance away from each other. You know, when the whole rescue
Yeah.
thing happens, like I saved your life. No, I saved your life, so you wouldn't have to save my life, you dumbass. And standing in the woods, he's standing away from him. The camera's behind Tom, and
They're
Tom's
doing their
still
best.
shorter. It's amazing.
Oh, that's wow. Yes, yeah. Superman and Christian Bale, of course, also British.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the one that trips me out when he
because
starts
he very
speaking in
rarely
interviews.
has a British
Yeah.
accent. Well, he also
Yeah.
stays in character when he's
Yeah.
filming. He
Right.
doesn't drop the accent because he doesn't want to mess
Yeah,
it up for himself.
Actually, we say British, but he's Welsh. So it was a Welsh Batman.
I knew that
Unbelievable.
Damien what's his
Lewis?
fuck?
Lewis.
The lead-
Damian
the lead
Lewis.
character. Damian Lewis was he's obviously my favorite character on the show, and he's also on a show called Billions. But he plays a good American. He does a great American accent.
So you're not talking about Paul Giamatti.
No, I don't think he could ever be mistaken for anything other than what he is.
Paul is great. I've
very
been watching
tiny, round
Paul
Italian
on
man.
screen for decades now, and it's hard to believe that he actually started off doing like Nickelodeon kids shows.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
That's
you
hilarious.
look way back in the day, he used to play some super silly
Oh my goodness.
Nickelodeon villains.
Did you just hit me with the green slime?
Yeah, pretty much.
He played a great role in John Adams. That's such a good series.
Yeah.
Of when we were separating from you folk, it was brilliantly done series.
Yeah, that was part of his major breakaway. That
Yes.
and a movie called Sideways, which
the
anybody who
wine
hasn't
movie.
seen that, good grief, man, such a good movie.
And Cinderella Man as well. That was another one of his early movies with Russell Crowe before Russell Crowe went from
That's right.
gladiator to buffet eater.
Yep.
I feel bad for Russell Crowe because he's like a minute older than we are. And man, and I know I'm not a spring chicken. Yes, the village takes some years off and some hair apparently.
Yeah,
but
you're not attempting to play Zeus either.
that's true. That's true. It's
Good
like
grief, man.
It's like Subway Zeus. Anyway.
And
Sorry,
Kelly,
we
I
drink-
like
we-
Bottle Shock as well. Bottle Shock is also a good one. That's whatchamacallit? Hans Zimmer, Hans from Die Hard. The Alan Rickman.
Oh, Ellen,
Yeah.
Plays in Bottle Shock, and that's another one that's a boatload of fun. But that is a docudrama because it's about an actual event that occurred with California wine.
I didn't know that either. I'm going to ask a question. I'm just reeling us back in a little bit. Do you think they could make a film of this show and do a good job in, say, a 2-hour time period,
No.
making a modern production of it?
No.
No, I don't.
No.
Okay, I think the one of the pivotal points, one of the things that makes this show so interesting is the long format of multiple episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, water lapping up onto a beach with the tides, it just goes to show how clever you would have to be to get out of this trap because there's every single episode is a brand new set of traps.
I just saw that. That's really. I don't know what number he would be.
Well, I don't think Kermit's on the list, so I think that's safe.
No, Kermit is safe. Kermit is a safe. He's a safe topic, not necessarily safe in the room though.
That's
He's
true.
actually, I'm looking at him across the way. He still has his vampire teeth in from our Halloween special.
Yeah, and Vincent Price didn't survive. I'm surprised you did. So there's a clip of
What was he dressed up as for Halloween?
Who? Kermit?
Uh-huh.
Is that on the list? Vampire's not on the list.
Nope.
Zombie? No, neither of those things is on the list.
that's true.
I don't understand. You're trying to fuck me up with things that aren't on the list now.
That's
not
Number
even
10.
fair.
Number 10.
10. Oh, no. He didn't have the cape. So it's funny that you bring up Starship Troopers by Arthur C. Clarke. The Pop
Not
of
by
the
Arthur
Empire
C.
was
Clarke,
talking
PJ.
about
that was
good
Arthur C.
try.
Clarke.
and Starship Troopers, and I like the problem with Starship Troopers is the bad guy is a bug. And Arthur C. Clarke, I didn't read Foundation, or at least I read. Well, I actually read Foundation. That's not. I lied, but I couldn't. It's been
No,
so long.
Foundation
ago, I couldn't
wasn't
tell you
C.
anything
Clarke
about
either.
Foundation.
That's true. Good grief.
No,
No,
Oh,
the
no,
Foundation
wait.
was definitely Jim.
Foundation
know,
was Clarke, wasn't it? It was
Jim,
Foundation. Am I wrong?
Foundation is
Asimov.
Asimov.
Fucking Asimov.
Right.
God
And
damn.
Starship
It's not
sci-fi
Troopers
writers.
is someone FFSI just recently did a show on.
Oh yes.
Yep. That would be
That's true.
number 4 on the
Bob
list.
Smith.
Yeah.
Can we?
Yeah,
can we
that I
mention him by
knew.
name?
How did I mess up Clark? Oh God, that's so irritating. First, Gillian Anderson is British. Now Arthur C. Clarke's not writing the novels that I have in my head. I'm done. I'm done. It's out. It's Panda time for me.
Anyone? The Lensman. By
I
Clarke.
do, and that's why I will not mention the author's name as much as I want to. You will not drag me into this game, number 2. I will not mention that author's name.
It's just because I'm trying to get some knowledge here. Are you going to
I
get
don't even
me
know what we're
that
talking
knowledge?
about. What is it? What is the Lensman?
The knowledge is always let me Google that for you.com.
It's part of a book series by a specific author on the list, top of the list, near number 5, I think it is. But it is.
I'm not familiar with his work. You guys had talked about him before, but I'm not familiar with his
Yeah.
work.
Yes. Well
Not-
worth it,
not
Jim.
Actively, anyway.
I mean, Roman, there's one of the books he wrote called First Lensman that the last few chapters, I mean, even if you don't read the whole book, I would highly recommend just the last few chapters of that book. The description of the political race at the end of First Lensman is almost identical to some of the nonsense currently going on in American elections.
Oh Lord, we're living through it. I don't know if I need to
Cam just
experience it
actually
in literary form
contradicted
as well.
himself in the same sentence. I am not a number. I am a 3 man. So I'm number
Agreed.
2. He's number 3.
Hail Cam, I'm 21.
I know. Dad joke. Come on to buggery. He says I'm not a number and then gives himself a number.
Oh, Lord,
I know. Dad jokes. Can't help myself.
Nice.
it's okay. It's okay.
That's what happens when you're on when you're on stuff like this. When you're broadcasting.
No, this is live. This is live broadcast, folks. This is what you get. You get dad jokes and me being a moron. So, were there any? I'm going to ask another question about the show because again, my lack of knowledge about the show is apparently astounding.
Yeah, and you and Kelly are in the same boat. So actually, Kelly's I think is a little bit worse than you, but go for it, Roman.
That wasn't meant to make me feel good. Who were some famous guest stars on this show?
Whew.
Oh, that's
I gotta look that one
Or were there any? I mean, that's a question I don't know the answer to. And the chair of the empire is collapsing. Okay, sorry. Everything's fine.
Chair of the Empire. Holy crap. That's great.
We call that in Britain. We call that the throne.
The throne. It is not the
Chair of
throne.
Empire.
We call the throne a different thing here in this house.
Oh, we call that as well. Sitting on the throne.
It's very much the same in the Scandinavian.
So sorry, viewers. Sorry about the accident there. Well, not that kind of accident. Different kind of accident. Different kind of throne.
Yeah, he did go number 2.
No number 2. There was no number 2. So guest stars on the show.
I'm looking it up right now. Let's see.
I mean, because I'm sure. I mean, this was a British production. I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken about that, right? So I'm sure they use because in modern productions, it seems like there's about 4 British actors that are on every British television show. They like pop up in everything you watch.
I'm not familiar with a lot of these names, but the
Okay.
number of number 2s on this list. Let's
Yes.
see. Mary Morris, Eric Portman, let's see now. Who else have we got here?
Well, you had
Anton
Patrick
Rogers,
You had
Oh,
Patrick
wonderful.
Cargill.
Guy Dolman, Clifford Evans. The list is insane. Of the number of number twos is just fantastic.
And some
Yeah,
of them
well,
was in it
One
twice.
of the guest stars was Patrick Cargill. He played number 2 as well. He played in a sitcom over here as
Thank
well.
you, Edge of Time.
Yeah. Colin Gordon, Kenneth Griffith.
Oh, Good night,
These names are
Miranda.
not
Good night, Mo.
entirely familiar. Yeah, this is great. John Sharp, David Bauer. These are
So
all
how
number
many-
twos in the show.
how many episodes are there then, Stephen? You must be probably
17.
looking at the big list. How many?
Yeah, 17.
Yep.
Okay. So 17 episodes, and there should be 17 number twos.
Pretty much. Yeah, some of them are played by two, and the initial number 2 actually was in the last episode. And what did I get the trivia correctly on this? He almost had a nervous breakdown because of the convoluted nature of the filming of the episode. He almost cracked completely on that.
I mean, I feel like that coming out of these things sometimes.
It
But
was-
I can't imagine.
Well, it wasn't the actual last episode. It was like close to that. It was like a 2-parter. But it was great being locked in a room and playing off each other and trying to crack.
Yeah.
You know, trying to crack it.
Whoa.
And the
Here's
tables
one.
turned.
Well, you also had in this, you had the girl who played in Randall and Hopkirk, deceased. The original, not the one with Reeves and Mortimer, did the remake. Randall and Hopkirk, deceased, was basically a set of detectives, but one of them had died, so he stoated about with a white suit on. He was the ghost. Nobody else could see him except Randall. So, and then Hopkirk's wife was one of the girls, Anita Atkins, is it? I'm trying to remember her name. Anita Andre. She basically, so there is a lot of fairly well-known British actors of the time in this.
Yeah.
Wouldn't say anything, it would be anybody outside of the UK would recognise them because they were on sitcoms, they were on TV shows. They weren't like movies, international movies or
Now,
things
this
like that.
show probably didn't air over here at the same time it aired over there.
Oh,
We probably got it
guaranteed
like
not.
way down the line, right? I
Yeah,
would
it
say.
was. It came over here on the PBS channels.
Yeah, like Doctor Who did originally. We had to
Correct.
wait.
Correct.
And then
Yeah.
Roman, just to give you an idea of how crazy some of these cast members are, there's a credit here in the first episode of a character called Man at the Cafe, and First Top Hat was played by Ian Fleming.
oh, you're shitting me.
I'm not kidding you, man.
Oh my
It's just-
God.
the listing of I'm looking through this cast list right now. It's like holy cannoli.
That's impressive.
But even as you're saying, things like you had people and it was a case of party guest, ex-admiral, the woman, the colonel. So the actor, that was their part. It wasn't a name part, night maid.
Right. Like the Admiral.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, there's
First
a lot of
few, man.
uncredited people that were just background guests. But this was a legendary production, just an
Do you
absolute
remember-
legendary production.
The episode where they made the lady fall in love with number 6.
Yeah,
And so she
Which
would
is-
follow him around everywhere.
Jesus Christ, Peter Bowles was in this as well. He played A. So he did. He played A. That was his character name, A. Peter Bowles basically used to star in To the Manor Born with oh God, name just disappeared.
Penelope Winton.
Um,
Penelope Keith.
no, we were talking about her, Patsy
Yeah,
from Ab Fab,
What,
Oh.
Joanna Lumley?
Joanna Lumley. No, it wasn't Joanna Lumley. It wasn't
No, it's
Joanna
Penelope
Lumley.
Keith.
It was Penelope Keith. Aye, sorry.
Yeah.
But Peter Bowles was in as another one. He was in loads of situation comedies in Britain around about the same time.
Okay.
And he appeared in this as well. So a lot of it is a lot of quite mainstay UK actors of the time.
At the time.
Mhm.
Yeah. So it's surprising when going through someone's, but as you said, one episode, there's a lot of fairly well-known names in there.
Yeah, and you look at some of these, some of the credited roles, like Girl Bo Peep,
Yeah.
labor exchange manager.
Yeah. Well, they had, I mean, because a lot of them had jobs, like actual jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
in
guy
the
at
village.
store with the maps.
Yep, taxi driver. Yeah.
The drivers, yeah.
Yep.
They weren't
Why
just.
do you need a
Because number six
taxi in
didn't
the
seem to do
bloody
very
village?
much. He just.
No.
What was? I'm sorry. Go
Why
ahead.
do you
Alex.
need a taxi in the bloody village? Because you ain't got far to go, have you? Be
It
driving
doesn't
around
seem
in
like it's
circles.
very big, but it gives you
No.
something to do.
Yeah.
But he never really did anything.
They just try to crack him every week.
I mean, he was
That's
just
what
there, and he was just being number 6, but he never actually had like a job. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
he entered
but-
that art fair to try to escape the island. He made his artwork that was actually a boat.
Right.
Mm.
There was another one where he tried to go up for election to become
Yep.
number 2.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's a lot of moments where they trick him into a process that he thinks is going to bring him a little closer or crack through the facade. But it never works, and it's always a trap. Everything that winds up happening, every initial premise,
Is
it
a
winds
trap.
up leading to a
Mm.
trap. Or it's something they discover he's doing, and they force it to lead into a trap. So it's weird. It never really gives you an opportunity to get a strong grasp on anything other than there's no way out, man. There's just
Right.
no way out.
Did
So, like-
anybody see Gary's talking about this in his? It was in his Tuesday show. Gary Neurotic. He was talking about this with Moller, and it was one of the big shows he did. I can't remember what one. He was talking about it. It wasn't his BBC one. It was his
Oh, the
other
real
one.
BBC.
No, it wasn't the BBC one. It was his other one.
Oh, I know which one you're talking about. That was the end of the week before the weekends, after the evening hosiery, right? Wasn't it?
Yes, that's the one. Uh-huh.
That was a hard one, Steven. That was a
I
hard
was
one
like-
to get out, man.
I was like, "Where's he going with this?" I know PJ knows all the names of these shows, and I'm like, "Oh,
I can't help myself. I need you to give me the knowledge so so that you understand what we're talking about. Yeah, I mean,
And the one thing I found peculiar is where they kept going to the control room, and in the middle you got those two people on a bloody seesaw going round in a bloody circle. What the fucking hell was it?
Who knows?
I didn't understand a lot of what was going on in that control room.
Oh,
That
do you know
chair
what
that
the-
number 2 sat
do you
in
know
was
the worst
really
part is?
uncomfortable.
We used to have one of them in the playground.
Yeah.
It was one that it was a seesaw that spun round.
That's just crazy. No, anyway, I've never seen one of those except on the
Uh-huh.
show.
No, when I saw it in the show, I remembered we used to have one in the playground. It was great. You just didn't go too fast, or else you actually fly off and the thing comes round and belts you.
Ah!
I still think one of the most fascinating parts about this show is the existence of the rovers. The idea that they manifest out of the ocean, out of some body of material that's existing at the base of the island.
They have a name?
They're called rovers. They're called
And
rovers.
I can't believe they named them after a British car manufacturer over here.
Well, they
So-
were originally supposed to be some sort of vehicle, but they just couldn't
Yeah.
get it to work, right, Alec?
I know.
Oh.
Yeah. They're going to get it to work.
Oh, okay.
And
sorry.
they
Jim.
wound up going with these weather balloons.
Jim's
yeah,
got to
like,
go, guys.
All right.
Jim's got an early start to his day tomorrow.
No problem, Jim. You have a good day tomorrow, and don't work too hard.
Jim,
There's
I'll
no
be
show.
giving
There
him
is no
100% of the
show.
problem.
There is no show tomorrow. No Tank Girl review because I've got a work thing on tomorrow night. So Tank Girl
It's
has been
the
put off.
same thing here, so that sounds
Yeah.
good. But
Ah,
I will catch you guys on the next live stream.
Right on, brother.
Saturday, hopefully.
And you might as well
Saturday.
say something on the way out, Jim, so we could kick you out of
Do
here
it, Jim.
formally.
Do it. Do it.
Right, information, and I'm flashing my.
Double barrel there.
That's the way to
He's
get it
double
done.
barreled it. Yeah, he said information, so that was it. He went. He didn't,
I'll be
even if he was just going to give me information about something else on the list.
Oh, that's classic. It was nice knowing Jim. It was so nice knowing him. Too bad you got to
Oh.
get eaten by a rover.
Yes, and now he's a part of the village. He's against us.
Aye, the
Yeah,
whole
you know-
village.
He
You know,
cracked.
the bubbles in Rick and Morty, where like there's actually like some bubble technology that Rick uses to transport his niece and nephew back to their house. It's got to be a trope right out of the show.
No, yeah, he is.
But that's the thing. Even shows like this, even though they were, I suppose at the time, quite big in the UK, even though they did one season,
Yeah.
they actually, their influence spread even to the US and stuff like that.
Mm.
Because it's the same as like early US stuff we would see now. If when we're looking back on it, you can see the influence it had on a UK program, because obviously the people who were in the business would have seen a lot of these things.
Mhm.
And actually, it was a case of, oh, I like that idea. Bring that in.
And it just goes to show he's got such a huge cult following. Plus, also, there are like tours around the place of the original village where it's actually based, where everyone goes dressed up.
Yes, I know they do that. Yeah.
That
Yeah.
would be great if we all went there for a laugh one day
Where is the
That-
village?
in Wales.
That's part of
Yeah.
Britain, right? I'm
Yes.
kidding.
Yeah.
I'm joking. I'm joking
Yeah.
on that one. I was
They
making a
just
joke.
don't speak. They
But-
just
but-
don't speak. They don't speak English. They speak Welsh.
Yeah, but another thing is, PJ, you can actually stay there.
Yeah.
For a weekend.
Yeah, you just can't
Oh,
get
like,
away. You
I
just
could
can't
stay
get
here.
Yeah, you can stay there for an entire weekend.
Wait,
It-
why is my background vibrating?
It's just
Was
you're
it doing that
interested.
before?
No, it's not doing it now. I don't see it vibrating. It could be.
Yeah, like
no,
I'm,
not-
lying, I'm watching it. It's like I'm having an earthquake here in the village. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
I can
I
see
bet.
it. It's just a very slight. bzzz.
Mhm.
It wasn't doing that before. Let me pause camera and come back.
There we go.
Nope, that's not good.
But that was one of the things that made this show very unique, because it was able to grasp the scope of a living set.
Yes.
The idea that the village existed before the show was created, it was the location they wound up choosing, and it existed afterward. And somebody decided to do a major remodel of it when the show became popular again.
It's the same as there's one here, Emmerdale. Used to be just called Emmerdale Farm. They used to use a village and they would actually film round about the village. And it actually became so. The show's still going. Fraser Hines was in it as well when they left Doctor Who. And the thing is, what they've done now is because there's filmed so much in it and it's become too much for the village, they've actually rebuilt the village set another place. So they
Yeah.
have, and actually to thing with my
Oh,
wife's
wow.
actually visited it. So she
Yeah,
has.
because it's all fenced off, isn't it? It's like
Yeah.
one big.
So
Okay.
now what they've done is the place where they used to film, they just basically just built that somewhere else so they can spend as much time as they want filming rather than having to book locations and block the roads and stuff like that. Now they
Same with
can do it.
Same with Coronation Street, EastEnders, there's a few
Mhm.
other soaps.
That's
Yeah,
back in
but-
the day when you actually had to have a real set of that scale.
Now,
Yeah,
you look at things like
Just
Bristol
CGI
County
it.
Junior. You look at Bristol County Junior. They did that. They basically, it was at the end of when all the westerns and all that were basically they were dwindling. So they made Briscoe County Junior. It gave them the opportunity to use the sets that were about to be demolished, and all the props that were starting to be decommissioned. So they did, and that was a big difference. It's the same as like a lot of the old movies. You can see the same set because it was actually a street that they had built specifically for filming. So it was like 2 or 3 streets, and so they could film there all they wanted without having to block off roads.
Yeah, I was on the set, the studio lots at Paramount for it was basically they were celebrating the anniversary or something like that of like the Paramount staff, and there was a gigantic meeting, and I was attached to a band that was playing for the crowd, and we were filming on the same streets that that Star Trek was filmed on.
Which one? Uh-oh.
Yeah, I just noticed that. Yeah, I noticed it myself. It's just because I have to flick backwards and forwards between the chat, the comments, and the banners to bounce. So, no luck, Stephen. He was the one that actually did it. Nobody actually even tried to hint at him to do it. Dun, 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 dun.
And I wanted to say, Monk of Magnesia, keep bringing that trivia to the chat, man. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm absolutely loving all of these comments. It's great. And I'm impressed. Yeah. We had almost, we got like 15, 16 people at one point in the chat. I'm so happy that we got this level of chat. We certainly did a major effort in marketing this show tonight. And we had all kinds of crazy disasters. Wendology had family problems. Colin actually got food poisoning. Jim had issues. PJ maybe was stuck in traffic. And Mr. AWK had all kinds of family issues on his end. All happened within the last 10 or 12 hours. It's nuts. It's almost like Patrick McGowan was just haunting the existence of this show.
Yeah,
Patrick, we're totally playing tribute to your show, mate.
It's kind of crazy. Well, he is actually, there's a legendary thing where he refuses to talk about this show. And I think one documentary team finally nailed him down and got a major interview with him.
Yeah, they did.
And even that is a little weird to have him interviewed on the show.
He's taking it to his grave. That was number 6, actually John Drake from Danger Man.
Yeah, they're never going to find that out.
No.
You'll find it out in when somebody writes his posthumous autobiography, but they'll just make it up because
that's
right. But there has been references to like comics and books and that. That he was actually John Drake, but we will never know. It's just fan theories now.
Yep, but the Paramount event that I went to, it was the filming location for the New York City streets, where the main characters of that science fiction TV show they go back in time to New York City. The one with Joan Collins.
Yeah,
we were actually celebrating the party on those New York City streets from that episode. It was a real trip. I'm like, I know that subway station. It was kind of trippy, man, because it was all
the Edge of Forever, wasn't it?
Yeah, it absolutely
City on the
Edge of Forever. Yeah.
Yeah, largely regarded as the best episode. It's not my particular favorite, but it's a lot of people's favorites.
Yeah, it's certainly one of the legendary ones. That's for sure.
Definitely is. But I think my favorite is Harry Mudd.
Yeah. Well, everybody knows the Tribbles. It's almost like the Tribbles with that show and Tentacles with animation with anime. So it's kind of the same thing.
See, that was one thing I must admit. They did well in Deep Space Nine. Trouble with Tribbles. The trials.
The redo.
The redo where they went back in time and basically matched it up. It was done so well.
Mm-hmm.
The CGI was. Look at the CGI now compared to some shows. The CGI
I
back
don't
then
understand
actually
how we've taken
Miles-
the step
yeah.
back.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Miles looked as if he was standing there in front of Kirk, getting dressed down in his red outfit. And if you
Yep.
look the two scenes side by side, you can see where he's been, who he's replaced, but it's flawless. You only know it because you can see if you've got the two of them side by side, it's different people, and that's the only way. There isn't any greyness or like yourself, shadow around them.
Mhm.
Yeah, and to hear interviews with the lady, the actress that played Dax,
Uh-huh.
her excitement about wearing those costumes
Yeah.
to go back in time is actually genuine. To hear her
Yeah.
interviewed,
She wanted to dress up as the
she
original.
was so excited to play in those costumes, and she was just openly giddy the whole show.
And she married Leonard Nimoy's son.
Good for her. And she was a real player. That girl,
Lucky
I
him.
swear, just
Lucky
lovely,
him.
just absolutely adorable.
She was my favorite Dax.
She was. Jadzia was best. I liked
Mhm.
it.
Prefer new Dax.
The other one just was too much a wee kid. She just
Yeah,
looked.
she's kind of there.
Uh-huh.
I wasn't a huge DS9 fan anyway, though.
Hmm.
I like the OG series and then Next Gen.
See, I like the original, and my guilty pleasure is Voyager.
That is a guilty pleasure indeed, sir.
It is because I hate most of the characters, but I can't get enough of Voyager because I really enjoy the show. But most of the characters, I think, I don't like that one, don't like him, don't like her. It's
I did
for
like
different
the
reasons.
finale episode of
Yes,
Voyager.
that was
The
very well
finale
done.
episode was really good.
Yeah.
That was very well done.
God. You know, there's something weird because that the season finale of Voyager happened. It actually was broadcast the July before September 11th. Okay, and the idea that an admiral goes back in time to change the history through some catastrophic event,
Mhm.
and she informs the past on how to bypass the whole plot line that led to the future that created
Yeah.
that admiral, while wearing a badge that has two towers over the Star Trek, over the symbol.
Mhm.
So
that was the newly designed. Yeah, her.
well,
her
it's
pin.
part of a
Yeah.
whole alternate reality within the
Mm.
within the franchise, because Picard has it in the episode of the final episode of Next Gen as well.
Yeah.
Oh, when he's doing all the Q stuff.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's actually
I
part
didn't
of the
prefer
universe.
that episode though. I actually
Yeah.
didn't like that episode. All Good Things. I didn't like All Good Things. I thought it was I thought it was a very weak ending to the show.
Yeah. Well, the
I
way,
did. I don't.
the
you know,
way
I'm
they
saying-
the way the story rolls out, it almost eliminates the existence of the Next Gen franchise.
Yeah,
Because you could speculate that it never happened.
yeah. It was
Yeah,
basically it was a what if.
Yeah.
If Q
And
had actually
Hollywood.
finished the thing at the beginning.
Yeah, and the films were coming calling anyway, so
Yeah,
that's
It's
had
a-
to end it somewhere.
talk about breaking its own canon. It's God,
Yeah.
that word should have been on the list.
Voyager did that with another one earlier on, where the future get changed by someone notifying the past of the
Yeah.
problem that stopped the future. So it became a paradox again, another paradox, something that they did to stop what caused what they did to not get done. So it was the Harry Kim one where they had the Delta Flyer and they were
Right.
flying ahead of the ship, and the
Mhm.
ship crashed, and Harry Kim was the only one that survived. So wasn't it him?
Dakota and all.
Chakotay, and he spends his time trying to get the information so he can send it back in time,
Mhm.
so it didn't happen, which was very well done. It was the same idea. So it was they'd redone it again. But Voyager it's just one of my guilty pleasures. Most of the characters are just annoying, or
Yes,
There's-
I agree.
unlikable, but for some reason
Mhm.
I can't get enough of Voyager. It's just one of those shows.
I know.
I like
I-
Picardo as the Doctor, and I like
He
7 of
was
9.
no, I
They're
did.
like kind
I disliked 7 and 9 immensely because I just hated that arrogance and the dismissiveness, as in I'm better than everyone. So I'll ask you a question, but I'll ignore what you're saying. I always
Yeah.
dislike that just because, and everybody says, I really loved her. And I thought, yeah, but if she wasn't gorgeous, you would just think that is an annoying character. And that's what it was. It was a case of you were meant to forgive what her character did because she looked good.
that
Mhm.
never happens. PJ, stop.
But
Yeah.
see, the thing is, that's one.
I
She
did
was
not
she was
objectify her.
married to the showrunner, you know.
Yeah,
That
it's
didn't go
one
well.
trope I've always disliked in movies. Always hated it. It's like the one where a woman. There was a movie, a fairly recent one, that it was a woman was going up to the security guard to flirt with him so she could get a key code or something. And then when she's standing there flirting with him, not getting the information, she looks down and he's reading a gay magazine, bodybuilder magazine, and she turns to the other guy and goes, right, you're up. And he comes in and he starts flirting with him. And it's implying that men, no matter straight or gay, will give up anything they want because it's a beautiful woman or a nice looking man. Because that's what their interest is, as in sex overrules anything a man thinks.
Everything.
And it's, to me, it's always crazy. Like a woman coming in and wanting something, and because she flirts her eyes, the guys go, I fall over herself to give you it. And you're sitting there thinking, really? A guy's paid for security and he'll just let anybody walk through that door as long as they bat their eyelids to him. I've always hated that trope. It's just one of those tropes. It's really pissed me off.
Mhm.
One of my I really liked Janeway. I know that Janeway, the initial introduction and the idea that she stranded them in that quadrant because of a decision she made at the beginning of the series. Yeah, that definitely is a major hole in the entire show. But I loved watching her be all tough, especially
Yeah.
as the
And the
series
good
really
thing
ramped
is-
up in the last season.
Yeah,
I'm
and
like,
also
this
the fact
girl
that-
is a captain of a starship.
And that was another good thing as well. She was a captain, but she would step back because she knew, well, I don't know how that, but I've got somebody who does.
Mhm.
So if she was looking for security, she wouldn't go to Tuvok and go, out the way, I will get it organised. She would turn around and ask him and say, you're the expert. I'm just in command, but you're the expert. I'll make the decision based on what you tell me. So she wasn't a all-knowing, all-powerful female
Right.
just because she was a captain. She had her brains because she would occasionally go down to help the an astrometrics. But it wasn't a case of, oh well, you get out the way, I'll do it. And she ran everything.
Yeah, no, she knew how to delegate. That's for damn
Yeah.
sure.
And that's why
some of my
I liked
favorite
her.
moments in the show were her tanglings with the Doctor. She never liked the Doctor. She always thought that the Doctor was a little too pretentious, a little
Yeah.
too arrogant, and she would roll her eyes constantly and just be like, "Would you please shut up?"
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I
many
would
moments
agree.
like that.
Neelix
Was
would
it-
get thrown out. Yeah, I dislike
I hate
Neelix.
it. Oh, I was so glad when what was her name? Chris? It wasn't Chris.
Yeah,
Kes.
Chris. It was something like that. But
It
she was
was,
adorable as an
Yeah.
actress. But I agree,
I
as a
hated
her
character,
Oh,
that to me showed, that is one thing it showed, the deviancy of Hollywood and the show, because in effect halfway through the show she goes through puberty. So you've got so her lifespan was 8 years and she was even
Right.
2 when they started dating, and halfway through the show before Stigmy she goes through puberty. So they're effectively saying Neelix is dating someone and having sex with someone who hadn't gone through puberty yet.
well,
And that's the
That's
point.
awkward.
Just because she looked like an adult, the fact that she was 2-year-old. So if you're taking, like, say for instance, for every year she's living, it's like 10 years, because they live up until about 8, sometimes 9. So you say 80, maybe 90. So she was just 1. She wasn't even 2 when they were going out. but at one point she went through puberty, so he'd been dating her
Oh,
prior to that.
Severance.
All these species in this franchise were bloody
I have.
weird.
This is
when
a
they
great
go-
show. The
I've
Monkey
never
Bag
seen
he's
either
talking
of
about.
those two shows.
Yeah, Severance is it's very strange. It's a something in your brain that separates your work self from your other self. So when you go into the building, you go down the elevator, and past a certain point, regular you checks out, and then it's just work you. And work you, that's the only existence work you knows is the elevator opening, and they go to work. Then they get in the elevator, it's closed, they're gone, the elevator opens. So for them, it's they are at work constantly. That's the way their consciousness works. It's a fascinating show.
Mhm.
It's on Apple TV, so I recommend that if you haven't seen it.
And Jacob, I watched one episode of that show.
Yeah, I
And-
never liked Captain Mikey Burnham in Star Wars.
Ick.
Yeah, I did.
Ick.
I don't understand. I mean, I watched one single episode, and I'm like, these are not officers. Why do these people wear uniforms? Why don't they just wear civilian clothes for the whole show? Nobody
because
has
they
any
argue with each
discipline.
other.
There's no chain of command. There's no crying. You can't just cry in the engineering section.
And in all fairness, we can ask Roman on ship how many of your captains, your lieutenants, all cried because they didn't like what was happening.
Yeah, that doesn't happen. At least
Yeah,
not in
exactly.
any kind of public forum where some kind of horrible tragedy that can occur, and that's a different thing. If it's just you're pissed off because someone has a disagreement about the call you made, no, doesn't hold up discipline well for the crew.
Yeah,
When
and I
you
can't
see,
imagine actually one of the lieutenants actually going up when the captain makes a choice, try to give him the neck pinch, and then when they realise it didn't work, the captain turning around and going, "Stop doing that," and continuing on. And somebody assaulted the captain. I'm sure they wouldn't actually just put him in that jail, but make sure when you ask to be let out and you can justify it to the computer, they let you out. Because
No, but to be fair, OG series had a lot of issues as well as far as ship protocols that don't make a lot of sense. Next Gen had that whole family stuff in the saucer section, which I never thought was a good idea. Yes, you got to see more interaction with the crew, but just as a concept, it's not very smart.
Do you know why they did that? The only reason they did that, Wesley Crusher.
Mhm.
Ew.
If they didn't have a kid character, they wouldn't have had a crew. That's why they had it to justify.
Well, I would argue it wasn't worth it.
It wasn't worth it.
was
Because
the,
Galaxy Quest had a kid on their crew and they didn't have a family.
Can I just say something? Was the Enterprise D like a luxury liner?
Say that again.
Well, it was supposed to be suggesting that it was a Starfleet vessel that was on a research expedition,
Mm-hmm.
and it wasn't supposed to be a military vessel at that point. But to me, that kind of breaks the whole canon.
It doesn't make sense. It just doesn't.
And the new show, the new show Discovery, it's an insult to the entire franchise of the Federation that there was no psychological discipline, that these people had mental issues with the discipline
Steven,
on the ship. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. What's going on here?
This crew was based on modern society, though.
That's what it's not supposed to be. That's the craziest part.
Understand that, but they wrote it with those people in mind. The blue-haired, screechy lady.
And the
number
beta male who basically just wants to.
And the chunky ginger. What was her issue? That's the one that I have the hugest problem with.
Those are the writers. The writers are, that self-insertion stuff that we talk about that they did with the gamma lady with the genetics problem. It's the same thing. It's self-insertion of the writers into the show, writing to you about the way they think things are when
Yeah.
they're very far from real life.
It's the very same. You look at Black Widow, and they did the exact same. They basically put themselves in that location.
Yeah.
Whereas the OG series, it didn't really do that. They were looking at a, not a dystopian future, but a brighter future where mankind has gone to the stars.
Yeah.
And same thing with Next Gen. It was supposed to be the brighter future. And
I
then
get it.
and then it always seemed to get a little bit darker after
Mhm.
each successive series.
Well,
And
with
then
the,
you end
ori-
up-
with the
Go ahead,
original,
go ahead.
with the original, it was just a room. It wasn't a room of writers.
Right.
Right.
Also a very
It
different thing.
wasn't a room. Yeah,
It was a writer for an episode.
Sargon of Akkad did a good one about it. He was talking about at one end of the spectrum, you had Roddenberry's franchise or Roddenberry's world building, and at the other side of the exact same one, you had Starship Troopers.
Mhm.
Both of them weren't they weren't a communist utopia. They were basically a liberal utopia, as in a communist utopia would be nobody would have a voice, everybody would have the exact same thing, and that is it. So basically, nobody would have the freedoms to own a business, run a business, or whatever. They would just basically they would get stuff if they needed it, and that's it. Because it's the liberal, because Cisco's father ran a calf, Picard's family owned a vineyard and stuff like that. So it shows that capitalism is there, but they've gone beyond the money part. So that's a liberal one where if you need it, you get it, but you still own stuff and you can still sell your stuff or trade your stuff.
Mhm.
And they went to the other side, and the Starship Troopers isn't a fascist dictatorship. It's an extreme one, because a fascist dictatorship wouldn't say we don't want you as a citizen. You'll just do what you're told. But they're saying no. If you want to be a citizen, you have to work at it. However, if you don't want to work at it, the only things you're ruled out of is like politics and stuff like that. You can still own stuff, because Rico's father doesn't agree with the military, doesn't want to join. He's not a citizen, but he's still rich, and he's he's still got businesses. So it's no like the fascist one where we want everything and you just do what you're told. So
Yeah,
the two of them are liberal, but one is the extreme one where you have to fight for your rights. The other one is everybody's got them, but you can. It's so.
Yeah, and I don't remember it in the book, because I just recently re-listened to the original Starship Troopers, and I don't remember them mentioning anything about pregnancy, but in the movie they talk about if you don't join the military, you can't get a pregnancy license.
No, she didn't say you can't get. She says she wants to be. She wants to have kids, and it would be easier when she's a citizen. Doesn't mean it can't
so it
happen.
kind of eases the process as
Yes,
opposed to like
because there'll be
paying
certain
for it or
things-
something like that.
Yeah, there'll be certain things they would get as a citizen where, as a civilian, they wouldn't get.
I see. Okay, so it's more like a civil servant gets better health care, or
Yeah.
a better insurance package for retirement, or some sort of golden parachute if you pass through
Night
the.
Kelly. Yep, it's that type of
Gotcha.
thing. So
And yeah, good night, Kel. Thanks for joining us. Hopefully, you can get some of this show in your head, because it is culturally, I think it's an important show for
Oh, I
everybody to
agree.
get a handful of episodes in their head to
it
watch.
definitely is. What did you
And it
guys
might-
think of Enterprise?
I feel exactly the same way Jacob does. I liked it and disliked it.
Hmm.
There were a handful of, I think, really good episodes,
Mhm.
and then there's the rest of the series.
Yeah.
The early stuff was a bit.
Yeah,
And-
I liked how they were certainly the first season.
The first
They were-
season was.
They were
quite
attempting to
groundbreaking.
walk us through how the Marines turned into the security force
Yeah,
of the Federation.
and I like.
I loved how the phasers kept evolving as
Yeah,
well.
and Roshi was basically designing the the communicator, the translator.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So she was building it up as they came across other races, and
It
it
was
was
so
based in hers.
her evolution in that show to me was one of my favorite parts. She starts off terrified
Yep.
about being on board some bottle in space, basically. And eventually, over the course of the first and second season, she actually really, gets some balls. And it's great to see her evolve through all of that.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, she's like the smartest gal in the room.
Mhm.
She's so bright on that show, and genuinely so.
And I like
She's
some
really
of the,
figuring things out.
yeah, and I like some of the silly bits, like when he's sitting in his chair going, "Do you know what this needs? It needs a control panel here." Because as a captain, he was leaned forward and check stuff when he was sitting back, and he just thought, well, if that panel was here, it would make it easier for me. So as the captain, surely it should be easier. The seat needs to be a bit more comfy. I don't want to constantly lean over. So if I had the panel here beside me, it's these silly things that were actually just sort of justifying it. But I hate, that's why a reason why I dislike prequels is because technology outstrips. So they're making a prequel of something that was 30 years ago, but it looks newer. Sorry,
Well,
that's
the
why
problem
prequels
with
don't work.
To Boldly Go, the
Yeah.
new series.
Mhm.
Well, that's one of the problems with it, but the technology on it.
Strange New
is-
Worlds, I think it's called.
Strange New Worlds. Strange New Worlds. I'm sorry.
Correct.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. The Calvin timeline kind of messes all that up.
Yeah.
I wish they would have kept it more retro. I've always said that science fiction, one of the cool parts about the George Lucas's franchise was that you didn't understand what the consoles meant. That you looked at a console and R2 would roll up to some bank of some like crazy lights with switches on it. It's supposed to be an alien world. It's not supposed to look like anything you understand. That's the whole point. So, Spock's console in the original series.
It reminds me of Independence Day when Will Smith's sitting in the spaceship and he goes, woof, and it goes backwards and he goes, oops, and turns the thing upside down. Because he just assumed because you want to go forward, you pushed it forward and it went backwards.
It was the reverse of standard commands. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So it was that type of thing. And I like things like that.
What I didn't like was that stupid virus plot line.
I know
understand
that.
why they had it, but it was completely nonsensical.
That
It was more
because-
nonsensical than the girl getting in the helicopter at the end of that Arnold Schwarzenegger movie with the big reptile creature.
Yes.
Yeah, like why would they save her at all? It's like, why not just leave her in her homeland? I mean, it's bizarre. I guess because they wanted to interrogate her as well and find out what she thought she knew about what just happened. You know what? As Arnold's character, I'm glad he probably insisted that she come along because he's like, you know what? I need this girl to corroborate my story because I'm not really sure what just happened.
And when it came to the sequel, it was a massive cover-up.
Whatever. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that was
Gary
only part of the
Busey.
sequel. That was only part of the sequel you could believe, but
What was the new one called?
Oh, who the hell? Oh, Prey. Wasn't it called Prey?
Prey.
Yeah.
Thank you.
yeah.
That's,
thought that
that's
was
how
just
much of an impact that it made. I can't
Yeah.
remember what it was called.
Yeah,
Actually,
it's amazing.
You know why they called it that? It's because they were praying somebody would watch it.
Right?
Yeah, that was like gone.
Mm-hmm.
Gone. I you know what? I would vote for a prisoner. No, I'm allowed to say that. Fuck. No, I am. I can say that. No, I can't.
You're doing so well that I'm actually having to actually flip backwards and forwards. So it's no sitting there expecting
That's
you to actually get the
fantastic.
bounces.
I think we should start winding down in 5 minutes, gentlemen.
That sounds
Right,
good
That
to
one was
me.
legitimate. I actually love that one.
That's great. That's great. I've stumbled a couple of times myself, man. It's like all of a sudden you say, I'm like, yeah, George Lucas's franchise.
I haven't been caught out
Well,
yet
it was-
because no one's asked me.
what we
So-
should have done, see for the next one we do, we're going to tell you the phrases not to be said, but we're not telling you the phrases.
Are we doing another one?
We will do another one, but next
Okay.
time we'll not be telling you the phrases we'll be looking for. You'll not know until you've said
Him.
them. So we'll,
Nice one.
I will have a list, or Alec will have a list, or Colin will have a list,
No, I'll
or
let you have the
Stephen,
list this time.
whoever is going to run it, will have a list and bounces all because we'll not know.
Yeah, for in the future we could do a whatever show, like a Saturday episode of Let's Talk Geeky, the Magooin edition. You know, so
Yep.
So
You're gonna bring up my cat.
it
It's
could,
exciting.
because we tried this as a quiz, we had a list of memes that are words that you weren't allowed to say and you get booted. However, for the next one, I think what it does is because every time somebody said something, like I would try and trip you up by like referring to Black Panther, Black Widow instead of She-Hulk. Not one person corrected me because the first thing you did is you looked at your paper to see what you could say. So if you don't
Right.
have a paper and somebody says something by mistake, somebody will correct them.
I
And
think
it'll
there's
be,
only
"Oh,
one thing on this list that we didn't really even ping on. Number
14.
number 9.
yeah. Well, that's
We
because
did.
this list was
We did.
created far too long in
I
the
tried
past.
to-
I think
I
that's it.
tried-
But that's pretty good. Out of the 20 items,
No.
that's the one item. we
No,
didn't
I
really-
tried to bring that up, remember? Because you were talking about the House of Dragons and you were talking about how they were outside the scaly places. And we talked about Gandalf, and I says, what was he in again? And somebody says, we're not going to go there. End of story. That was it gone. So you
But
talked
I
about
think-
Gandalf.
I've been
Oh,
on
so-
a couple of channels where it's openly said what you can and cannot do, and that's because the host is a bit of a wacky, as some hosts are. Some hosts are like kind of crazy. One in particular openly mentions that blasphemy is not allowed on his
Oh,
channel.
that's not my show.
Meanwhile, you
Shing,
listen
shing,
to the
shing, shing,
open
shing, shing,
discussion and you're like, wait, how could there not be blasphemy? And yet we just had that conversation 5 minutes ago.
Well,
But
it's like when we go on Father
he would
Miller's
boot
show,
you
we
right
don't- we
off
don't
in the
swear.
middle of a sentence, like without even telling you that you screwed up. Just, you're gone. That's it. See ya.
Yeah, Father Miller does it, as Roman is about to say, but it's not a case of he does it for. I think it's just a case of try and keep it down. It's not as if he'll bounce you, but he'll give you the shame,
Yeah, which
when
is
you
hilarious.
swear, when you swear or something, which we sometimes do. A couple of times I've been caught out because I forget, and then
It's because
it comes out
it's,
and you go,
it's
"Oops."
part of our vernacular. It's ingrained in us.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say before number 2 booted me out was that I would actually like to see a 2-hour version of this. I think it'd be fun, and I think it would introduce a lot of people to it that haven't seen it before. Of course, it has to be well done. You need a good cast. You need actual writers, and not the
Inserters.
the stuff that the current writing staff likes to produce. No self-insertion writing. We need actually good
exactly
writing.
Do you know
Right,
what?
stuff.
Do you know what you need? You need writers and showrunners who'll turn around and say, "Right, what's a good story? What do we
Yeah.
want? What type of story do we want to do? How do you want to put it?" Not somebody turning around and saying, "Do you know who would be good in this role?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And this is what we'll change and make it this, and it's not that, and it's not number 2. It's the big orange man." And
And
Yeah. Oh God. Oh.
Right? Can you
that's
see them
different.
doing that? I could easily
Yeah.
see them doing such
Well, they did it
silly
on Doctor Who.
nonsense.
They
Yeah,
did it on Doctor Who.
Can I
What
just
I
say
did-
something for a minute?
Oh yes, please. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
There's too much positivity in the world and not enough negativity.
I try to bring it.
Yeah. No, I'm talking about when it comes to these TV shows.
I was kidding.
they're a bit too dark. Is that what you're saying?
No, just saying he's
Well, I think that's
It's
one of my
praised, but-
favorite bits in Deadpool 2 when Josh Brolin stabs him in the shoulder and he's like, "You're so dark. Are you sure you're not from the DC universe?"
Oh,
Uh-oh.
he's not asleep. I'm just sleeping away.
Ming-
You keep catching me. I keep it's basically I have to click backwards and
I
forwards because you keep catching me out.
So, I this will be like my last thing because I know we need to roll.
Yeah.
I watched a thing on the Wakanda Forever, and what they did was they put together a montage of all the actors and writing staff and directors, and the one word they kept saying was diversity, and then,
yeah.
and then representation.
Yeah.
And then when I watched Shooty do his Q&A for the new Doctor Who, you know what he talked about? Doctor Who. He
Yeah.
didn't talk about the other stuff. He talked about Doctor Who. And
But what
I know
Doctor did he
we're
talk
going
about?
into this thing,
Did he talk about David Tennant taking over from David Tennant?
He did not talk about taking over for David Tennant, but he did talk about Doctor Who as a franchise, and he didn't talk about himself really at all, which
All
was
I can say,
and he didn't
that
talk
man-
about he didn't talk about diversity or representation. He
No,
talked about Doctor Who and how excited he was for the role, unlike
that
certain
man-
other people, Dr. Karen,
Yeah.
who was not excited about the role.
But all I can say,
That's it.
Shooty has done his homework. That's all I can say.
So
Well-
I am.
Do you know the
cautiously
biggest
hopeful.
problem I have with the coming up series? RTD. Not the new Doctor, the old showrunner. He's the one that's actually been sprouting all that pish.
I've heard some stuff out of him, and I'm
It's because he goes against his politics because we want rid of the BBC as an entity because we have to pay for it even if we don't watch it. And it's not a case of if you wanted to do it. It's see if I decide I don't want to pay it, I can end up in jail. Yeah, I mean
That's nuts.
Yeah.
that is nuts. With that, if I stole something, I might get a fine. But if I don't pay my TV license, I could end up in jail.
I know.
Yeah.
And once
Yeah, I mean,
upon a time,
I don't
we had-
want to watch Netflix. You're going to jail. It doesn't work.
Right.
Well, BBC, you could end up in jail if you don't pay it.
And once upon a time, we had TDB detective.
They were fake.
Yeah.
Detector vans. They used to drive around with these vans with a big radio, and they were fake, but it was to actually scare people into getting their TV license.
oh Lord.
Which, considering they actually just got to anybody's house, they know where. Even at the time, they knew everybody had a license. So all they needed to do was go down and go, "Oh, number 46 doesn't have a license. Maybe they don't have. Maybe they've got a TV not paying. So let's go to number 46, chap their door, and say we know we can." That's what they would do. They would come up as if out of the big detector van it says TV detector, chap your door, and see if they freaked you out.
That's absurd.
Well.
More absurd than the series that we just
Okay.
discussed.
Well, anyway, shall we take the tally of the scores?
The tally of the scores was Stephen got bounced 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, sorry, twice. Roman got bounced 3 times. I got bounced once by myself by mistake. Alec didn't get bounced at all. And Jim got bounced once.
That was great.
So, Alec technically won, but the big winner tonight was Roman.
Yeah. Well, anyway, thanks for everybody for attending the show. And this was a great experiment that has really paid off. Thank you to PJ for acting as our number 2 for tonight. We will give it a go in the future again. But
I think what we should do
really-
in the future, if we give it a go,
Yes.
whoever's running it, so whoever's channel,
Mhm.
nobody else knows a list of the words.
And the thing is, that person should keep the list to themselves
yes,
at all times.
So we can actually just throw it out saying, right, tonight we're going to be talking about Gerry Anderson, for instance.
Oh, yes.
And then you can turn around at the last minute and go, oh, by the way, guys, I've got 5 words here. And just do that so the people know there's 5 words or 5 phrases, that type of thing. It might be related to the topic. It might nothing to do with it, but yeah, I think that's the way.
Anyway, let's go around the horn to promote ourselves before we go.
Indeed.
We'll start at the bottom. The winner was Robin.
Thank you. I appreciate getting kicked off the show 3 times. Sometimes I used to do that to myself because I couldn't stay on the internet. We've got a show coming up.
The early days.
The early days. You and I, it was not good. We got a show coming up this Thursday at 5 Pacific Standard, The Great Sci-Fi Villains. And we've got a nice panel put together with that. Pops is going to be on there, Nerdtorial. The Thad That Shouldn't Be. Who else? I got one more on. Oh, Daniel. Our good friend Daniel is going to be on there as well.
Did you mention Flaccid Phoenix? Might be.
I'm still pimping Flaccid because someone has to pimp Flaccid. So I'm still working on Flaccid.
Okay. That would be cool.
Trying to get him.
That's a lot of fun. And surprisingly enough, that list is so gigantic if you start thinking about it.
And we're going to do our standard roundtable fashion where we bring it up and then we all talk about it. Then we get off topic for a little while. Then we come back. And that's the way these shows usually run. Are we doing a show this Saturday?
We are.
Okay, so I'll let you talk about
with the original PJ Maybe, except no substitutes.
I once was PJ Maybe. And this Monday coming up, Steven and I are going to do a pirate version of Mixtape Mondays. Also going to be at 5 Pacific Standard, and we're going to talk about a bunch of music shit. And we'll see if I can pry my partner out of the cave. And I need 6 more subs on the channel. If I get 6 more subs, I can finally break the slow march to 200. So please sub to my channel if you haven't. I'm begging a little bit. There may be naked women and lobsters involved for you if you sub to the channel.
Or naked lobsters holding women.
His 200 subscriber stream will just be a video of a rack of ribs.
So that's what's going on in the Empire right now. Thanks. Thank you for today. Today was a lot of fun.
No problem.
Nice.
No problem. It's great to have you. It's always welcome.
This Friday, I'm going to be doing a show with a gentleman I've been, kind of a regular now. We just did our 3rd Friday evening stream. This gentleman named Potato Revan. He's an Irishman who claims to have nothing to do with Britain. He's Irish, for darn sakes. So there's a lot of
potato. Is he Northern Ireland or Southern Ireland? Because if he's Irish, it could be from the Republic of Ireland era, and he's not British.
He claims to have relatives that were participating in the revolution. So who knows? He's a very Irish gentleman. But the topic we're going to be covering, and I'll be posting on Twitter, of course, with details on the show.
Hold on. I didn't know, but you did.
That's hysterical.
You did.
Nice. We're going to be talking about fictional political systems, and the one we're going to be tackling on Friday night's show is going to be Avatar: The Last Airbender, and how that show evolved the governance of the 4 kingdoms. So it should be an interesting conversation. Certainly the topic has some gigantic legs to march around. Nice. And usually a very interesting panel gathers. So come check that out. That's probably going to be about 5 p.m. Pacific and about 8 o'clock Eastern. It's pretty late in the UK, but I'll be posting as that day approaches. I'll know more by Thursday, so I'll definitely give you guys an update then. but it's
Yeah.
potato Revan.
Yep. Good. Well, we're back in Saturday. Well, I'm back on Saturday for Let's Talk Geeky. Hopefully, we'll have it on my channel this week with the originals. And next Wednesday, we will be doing, on the 23rd of November, Doctor Who and the Daleks Peter Cushing. We'll be discussing that one. So, classic Dalek. Exterminate.
I've never seen that. I love Peter Cushing and I love Dalek. So why have I not seen that?
Mm-hmm. I think the Doctor Who and the Daleks is he's done the two. Dalek Invades the Earth 2155. I preferred to Doctor Who and the Daleks, but it's one of those ones. It's how much I prefer it, just slightly, but it's not as if I don't enjoy it. The other one, and so join us for Saturday's Let's Talk Geeky, and who knows what will happen. I don't.
Yes.
I never do. As soon as I start, I don't know what's happening.
Well, anyway, FFSI will return on the 29th as we will be discussing a legendary Norwegian film called Troll Hunter, which will be, as like a promotion towards the new film Troll, which is coming out in December. So that's when FFSI will return. And hopefully we have Colin back at some point. But anyhow, everyone, thank you for joining us tonight. It was a great stream. I know it was a bitch trying to, if it was still going to go ahead or not. But we managed to pull it off. And
yep.
Let's just call this what you call the pilot, in a way.
Yeah.
Great things.
And remember, hopefully next Saturday, I'll have a bit more of this room finished and I'll be able to do a proper
coming along nicely, man. Coming along nicely.
And that reminds me, PJ, check your DM. I found an adjustable acrylic stand for your pistol that you should be able to find take a couple of them. But it's a slider adjustable system that's designed for plates, but it looks like it might be right up your alley to be able to hold the barrel up on your.
That sounds like a euphemism.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I've got wee blue tablets for that.
Nice.
And that's when they went off the edge, folks. This is live streaming.
But that's ideal.
Yeah.
It says £9.99, but the way it's worded, it looks like £999.
Well,
goodbye.
Anyway, before we go, let's all just say what he said. We are not a number.
We are three men.
And
we're actually four, but that's a different.
Tree men.
Tree men.
We're tree men.
There you go. Even you need to practice that for Saturday. It's tree, as in 33 and a third. That's Irish for 33 and a third. 33 and a third.
Speaking of which, I just saw that Google just came up with a new AI that can do transcript, direct speech to text translations. And they demonstrated a Scotsman speaking on air, and it flawlessly was able to translate it.
Well,
to,
YouTube doesn't do it because the very beginning I had my auto subtitles on, and I had to go round because I would be talking about magic cards. So I would talk about a deck of cards, and for some reason, every time I said deck, it came up with a different word, and I had to edit the whole subtitles because I kept talking about a dick. You take your dick out and you have your dick.
Don't do that. No.
Basically, so anytime I was talking about shuffling your deck or this is the deck I use, I had to constantly edit it because it changed the word.
I have a PJ-ism that I actually introduced to Mrs. of the Empire, Naguna.
Not going to try
wait,
it. Not going to do
Wait,
it.
what are you gonna take? When are you gonna take out the garbage? I'm not gonna do that tonight. I thought it was
With
funny.
that,
She punched me, so that's the way it goes. And that's why I'm streaming, folks. Thanks for being here.
hey,
Good
best of
night,
luck
everyone.
when.
You too. Yeah, take care, Wen. I hope she pulls through and that.
Indeed.
So, everyone take care. Catch you all Saturday.
Ta-da.
Bye.
Good night, all.
Be seeing you.